Today, we have my 2021 Jeep JL Sport S Unlimited with the 2-liter turbo engine and the 8-speed automatic ZF transmission underneath. We're going to be doing a full transmission fluid change as well as a filter change. Now, Jeep in their owner's manual states that it's a lifetime oil in that transmission, but when you're using your Jeep for purposes such as off-roading, towing, or constantly are going down dirt, dusty roads, it is recommended by the manufacturer of that transmission, ZF, to change your transmission fluid every 50 to 60,000 miles. My Jeep right here is already at 53,000 miles, and I have a trip out to MOAB planned for next week. So I'm looking to get this fluid changed out before I head out and hit the trails. Now, I already dropped my skid plate that's covering the transmission pan as well as the engine block because the Jeep's transmission does not come with a drain plug on the bottom. I do know there's aftermarket parts to install that and other ways to do that yourself, but what we're doing, we're going to be dropping the transmission pan, putting it back up, filling it with fluid, and following the proper procedures outlined by ZF themselves in order to get this transmission filled to the adequate level and ready for the road. In order to conduct our transmission fluid change as well as our filter change, there is a few things that we're going to need. First off, I figured it was better safe than sorry. I went ahead and picked up a MOAB transmission pan gasket, a nice brand new one, so I don't have to reuse the old one. Who knows what the condition of that old one is, so better safe than sorry to have a nice new one to get up in there. Secondly, you're going to need to get yourself a new transmission fluid filter. The Jeep JLs have a replaceable filter on their 8-speed ZF automatic transmission. I do know there are other models of vehicles and whatnot that it actually is all in one built into the pan. For the Jeep, that is not the case. It is a steel pan with a replaceable filter. And lastly, when you're conducting a transmission fluid change on your Jeep, not a flush, just a change, you should expect to have to replace about 6 quarts of ATF fluid. Now, this I got directly from Jeep. This is MOAB 8 and 9 speed ATF. This stuff runs pretty pricey. If I remember correctly, it was about 20 to 25 a bottle. And you want to make sure for these transmissions that you're using this and only this, or there are ZF recommended equivalents that I didn't even bother going with. I went straight to the dealership and got 6 quarts of these for peace of mind. Now, it is recommended to have on you between 6 and 7 quarts, depending on how your drain and fill goes. As you can see here, I only have 6 quarts, so I'm hoping I only need those 6. If anything, there is a Jeep dealership just right down the block I'd be able to walk to and get the last quart, worst case scenario. If your Jeep has skid plates like mine does underneath, you're gonna have to remove the one that's covering your transmission as well as your engine block, as I just mentioned that I did. Those tools are going to vary depending on what skid plates that you have, and we're not gonna go over that in this video. The tools that you will need for this video are all right here until I run into something that I'm missing. But we have ourselves a ratchet with an extension right here, as well as a T40 hex bit socket and a 10mm socket as well. The T40 is going to be used to remove the transmission pan bolts as well as put them back in. And the 10mm socket is going to be used to remove and replace the filter from within the pan. Now, besides the materials that you'll be replacing as well as the tools that you'll also need an oil drain pan. This is not a sufficient size for this job, and I'm still gonna use it anyways. We'll see how it goes. And what I've done, I have multiple layers of drop cloths and blankets underneath the transmission. So anything that spills, which most likely in my situation is going to happen, is going to get caught by that, not seep down to my garage floor and not get all over the place. But don't be like me and do get yourself a drain pan that is significantly wider, because as we drop the transmission pan, it's going to seep out from all edges, and I'll probably be able to get most of the fluid in here, but definitely not all of it. And the last thing that I highly recommend that you do pick up before doing this job is a few cans of parts cleaner as well as lint-free shop towels. We're going to be cleaning out the transmission pan once we drop it. There are magnets in there that catch all the metal shavings and filings from the wear and tear that's going on in your transmission. What we're gonna do, we're gonna utilize our parts cleaner and our lint-free shop towels to get that all cleaned out, have it nice and new before we install our filter and put it back in place. Now, I'm pretty sure that covers everything for right now. We'll go over how to fill the transmission once we're underneath and up to that step, as well as how to properly reinstall your pan. Let's see how much of a mess I make. I hope it's not too bad. And yeah, fingers crossed as all goes well. And before we get started, the last thing I should mention is that you should make sure your vehicle's in park, your wheels are chocked, your parking brake is on, and your Jeep has been sitting parked on a level surface for about an hour or so. A couple of hours is even better. We don't want our transmission fluid to be too hot to work on, and we want to make sure it's all had a chance to mostly sit in the bottom of the pan and drain itself out of the system for the most part. So before we go ahead and drop our transmission pan, the first thing we're going to want to do is on the passenger side of the transmission, we have our fill plug here. We're going to want to loosen that plug before we drop the pan, because in the event that we're unable to open that fill plug after we've already drained the transmission, we can be in a bit of trouble. So we're gonna go ahead with an 8mm Allen head. Let's make sure we're loosening this up. There we go, got it cracked open. Now we're able, see, our fill plug is loose, and now we can go ahead and drop the transmission pan itself. I'm gonna go ahead, loosen and remove all of the transmission pan bolts except for the corners. Once we get to the corners, I'm gonna loosen and remove the front of the pan first while also loosening up the rear. We want the pan to drop forward and drain out this way into our drain pan once we have it over there. So let's get started. And these are on with only, I believe, 11 Newton meters of force. So thankfully, they are pretty easy to crack. That hurt, and that's why you wear glasses. Oh my God, that hit my eyebrow. That's 3, 5, 6, 7, that's 8, and 9. All right. I'm gonna get these bolts out of here and get myself positioned to start lowering the front bolts and then backing the rear bolts out so it starts draining towards the front with our drain pan right where my face is, and we'll drain out this way. This is where we're now gonna go ahead. Oh man. We're gonna crack these front ones. I think I'm gonna lower the front ones like halfway so we start getting a drain. All right, I'm on this side now. I think I'm gonna go to the other side for this. Okay, yeah. Feels safer to be over here now for this, so. Same thing. Yeah, it's on tighter there. It's one of the last bolts holding it. I'm gonna lower this bolt as well. About halfway. Let's see if I can do it by, yeah, I can. That looks like it. Okay. And now, go ahead with this one first over here. Oh, geez. Let's see what happens. Oh, there. Oh. As you can see, I did that completely wrong. Okay. Oh, you know what? Okay. It is kind of pitched this way a little bit, I'm noticing, just ever so slightly. Maybe I should have been lowering these bolts. Okay. Well, besides the spillage that did occur, it is not too bad at all. And we're gonna let this drain out now. The transmission pan is cracked open and we're draining right into the pan, besides exactly what I spilled. So yeah, we'll let this go for just a moment and then we will see how we have to adjust this to continue to try to not make much of a mess. I'm happy I put all these blankets and drop cloths down and have dirty clothes on. All right, not bad. You know what I need to invest in? A creeper. I need a creeper. Let me do this. While it's draining, I'm gonna put these back up a little because I can see we're draining that way. So let's go ahead, keep that where it is now. And now instead of it falling further down, when I loosen these, it will fall forward more into the pan than anywhere else. So this smells completely different than engine oil and especially different than differential. Differential oil is very sulfuric. This smells like an office building, like carpet, and cleaner. It smells like cleaner, but like not how you'd expect. That's the only way I can describe this right now. We're gonna let this drain a little bit. Okay. That went way better than I expected, honestly. Let's go with this one again. I think we're gonna get a lot more. Oh, man. Oh, that's good. That's good. Hey, definitely cracked it a bit. There we go. There we go. That's more like it. And I'll mention now, you need to make sure that you have a drain pan that can hold 6 quarts, because that's what you're expected to drain out. I know I missed the pan initially, so this is a 7-quart pan. I think we're in the clear here. Oh, we're being held by one bolt. I really, really don't want to get this on me. Okay. Okay. All right. Lower it down. There we go. Nice. Now we have whatever's left in here. Look at that. Transmission pan has been lowered. And good thing, once again, that I have this drop cloth and blanket down here. This is gonna drip out and we'll just allow it to. All right, we got our transmission pan officially out. You see our old filter in there. We'll be replacing that with a new one, and we're gonna get this whole pan washed and cleaned. Right now, I can see the magnets already. We're gonna take a closer look at them, but they look pretty good. Just exactly what you'd expect on them, honestly. So let's go take care of this. All right, so we've given that some time to drip and drain. Let's go ahead. And now we have our transmission pan right here with our old filter in place. So as per the instructions, that actually comes with the new filter. We're going to be removing the old filter, these two 10mm nuts, and discarding all of that. The new filter actually comes with brand new 10mm nuts that we'll be tightening down to secure that in place. Before we put the new filter in though, we'll be removing the old filter and cleaning all of this out. Okay, old filter is out. Don't forget this. And as for our pan magnets, as we could see here, no chunks of any kind, just fine, very fine metal shavings, as you would expect from a transmission with 53,000 miles on it. So we're gonna go ahead, let's see on this side as well. That's one little chunk, but very, very tiny. Everything else is shavings as expected. That could be from break-in. I am not too concerned at all. Everything looks pretty healthy. So let's wipe this down and then spray it out. And as per the instructions for the filter, it states to turn these nuts until snug and then loosen 1/2 of a turn. So we're gonna do just that. And now 1/2 of a turn. It's 1/2. One half, and that seems like enough room for play in there as it needs. Let's go ahead. Notice there's some dust on here. Just get this wiped down. And what's important about not having this totally clamped down all the way, it says in the instructions here that the filter should not be constrained in a horizontal plane. Because first off, we don't want it to be able to move up and down, which it can't. There's no play on up and down on a vertical plane. But for horizontal, we want this to be able to move so it mates with the oil pickup up in the transmission. And now if we look at the gasket, that's actually, it has a groove that it sits within the lip of the pan here. If we go around and look at it, I am not seeing any concerning signs of cuts or cracking within this. So although I did get a new gasket to put in place, I honestly don't think I need to use it right now. I might actually save that gasket for the 100,000 mile fluid and filter change. Yeah, we're going along here, and it all seems good to me. It's got a nice amount of, give to it in a way. It doesn't feel too squishy, doesn't feel too hard. I think we're good with reusing this gasket on here, and that basically leaves us done with cleaning the pan, installing the filter, and our gasket. I think our next step is to go under the Jeep, clean it up a little bit under there, and get this pan with the new filter reattached to the transmission. Get ourselves in the There we go. I grabbed the case of the transmission on the driver's side and pulled it up. And it's in there. Okay. I cleaned up the mating surfaces as much as I felt comfortable, as much as I could. So now in the specified formation that comes in the instructions for the transmission oil filter replacement, we are going to go ahead and torque the transmission pan bolts to 10 Newton meters in the following pattern, with bolt 1 being this corner bolt, bolt 2 being this opposite corner bolt, and so forth. Okay, this one's number 3. It seems it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. So this is number 3. Okay, and just, yep, so this one here is number 4. Okay, this one's number 5. Okay, 2, 4, 6. Okay, 12. Okay, and 13. Okay, now we got all of our bolts, all of our pan bolts tightened down to 10 Newton meters. I'm gonna go ahead, do that once more, and then we're gonna be ready to fill this transmission. Okay, so let's go ahead. I have my hand pump. This should be loose enough, the fill plug, where I'm able to just back it out. Now the process that we want to pump this in though is just the same as you do with your transfer case or your differentials. You are going to pump it in until it starts flooding out. So we're going to be extra careful, pump only as much as we need to, because it seems if I pump too fast it starts just spilling out. We're going to just pump at a steady pace until we get a flood of fluid coming out. Okay, so I filled the transmission until we were getting a very steady drip coming out of the fill hole. So we're gonna hop in the Jeep and start the cycling process to get this fluid pumped through the transmission, and then we'll come back down here to top it off. All right, so now we've gone ahead, we've dropped our transmission pan, cleaned it out, put the new filter in, put the pan back on, and filled the transmission with 8 and 9 speed ATF from Mopar. So now is the moment where we hop in the Jeep, turn it on, and cycle through the gears to heat up the transmission. This part I'm a little nervous about. Let's get to it. So we're gonna go ahead, start her up. So the first thing we're gonna do is go to our transmission temp. We're gonna see it's at 60 degrees right now. We're gonna want it to warm up for just a moment here in park. And as we're in park here, we're going to go ahead and work ourselves through the gears through park, reverse, neutral, drive, manual drive, leave it in first, up to second, down to first, over to drive, over to neutral, reverse, park, and repeat that process one more time to get the oil throughout all the gears and get the transmission warming up. All right, so let's go ahead. We have our foot applied on the brake as well as our emergency brake on. We're gonna go ahead into reverse. Leave that there for 5 seconds. Into neutral. Down into drive. Over to manual, and then to drive 2. So we're in second gear. It will not allow us to go to third gear. I can show you that. Right. All right, leave that there for another second. Going back down to first. Over to drive. Up into neutral. Up into reverse. And up into park. And now I'm going to do that one more time. And our goal here is that the operating temperature of the transmission has to be around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I believe it needs to be between 86 and 122 in order for us to pop the fill plug off while the engine's running, while the Jeep is running, and do our second fill. So let's run through the gears one more time and wait for this transmission to heat up. All right, and it looks like it's time for us to go do our fill. So let's get out. As you can see, I have the garage open since we have the Jeep on. Can't have that going on in an enclosed space. And let's go ahead and do this fill once more. Let's go ahead, remove our fill plug. Okay, as you can see, we're not dripping out anymore. We're gonna get in there and get this fluid pumped in. Okay, we're gonna move on to our other bottle now in just a second. Topping this off. Got a lot going in there still. Which makes sense. We did empty about 5.5 quarts, and I was surprised when I only was able to put in 3 3/4 for the first fill. But this makes a lot more sense now as we're getting this in. Oh, we are pouring out. All right, let me plug this before it creates way too much of a mess for me. Okay. Once again, decent amount of ATF on the floor, but that's what drop cloths are for now. We're gonna go ahead, get this tight. And I believe it's 26 foot-pounds then I'm gonna tighten that. I'm gonna double check that in just a second. Let's get this engine turned off. After cycling the transmission, doing a second fill on it, and one Saturday afternoon later, we have successfully switched out our transmission filter and conducted a transmission fluid change. Now, once again, this is not a transmission fluid flush, just a change, and there will be, I believe, about 3 quarts of old fluid still in your system. But as far as I know, according to ZF, the manufacturer of these 8-speed automatic transmissions, this type of fluid change is sufficient for the 50 to 60,000 mile maintenance interval. So now, as for the Jeep, are we done yet? And the answer is yes and no. We've conducted an initial fill and then a top off of our ATF into our transmission. But we do still want to make sure that there's no air in the lines and that we truly do have the correct level of ATF fluid in our transmission after draining it. So I have some errands that I have to run tonight. I'm gonna be doing some driving around, getting that transmission going and that fluid pumping around. And tomorrow morning, I'll be conducting the same level check when the transmission is at between 86 and 122 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll undo the fill plug and see if I could put any more fluid in. So I'm gonna get all cleaned up, put my skid plate back on, and I'll see you in the morning. So I know I said I would see you guys tomorrow, but it's actually been a full 9 days since I conducted the transmission fluid change on this Jeep. And the following morning, I did go ahead, I opened up the fill plug and checked the transmission fluid levels, and I wasn't able to put any more fluid in. It just kept on pouring out. So to me, that meant it was all good to go and filled to the proper level. So after sealing it back up and calling it good, I ended up going to MOAB last Wednesday and just came back yesterday afternoon. I had an amazing time. The Jeep performed great, and I encountered no issues with the Jeep post-transmission fluid change and filter change. I was at some severe inclines and declines on trails such as Fins and Things, as well as the Dome Plateau trail system. I have videos of those in the works that'll be coming out within the next coming weeks, within the next month. So be on the lookout for those, because there's a lot of good stuff in those videos with this Jeep here. But yeah, that concludes it for our transmission fluid change and our filter change. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please make sure to subscribe. I enjoy making all sorts of videos related to my Jeep, maintaining it, and all sorts of adventures that I have, whether it's hitting the trails with this or taking my camper out camping. So once again, please subscribe if you haven't, like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.